Hello everyone, this is Pakshta Fashion Workshop. Today we continue working with the semi-code. I remind you that we are showing you how to edge the bottom. First we need to pin the facing. In our case, it's already stitched. We ripped just its lower part. You should pin the seam down from the top. The last pin should be inserted here, right on the spacing seam. Have a look here. Notice that Svetlana inserted the last pin right in the spacing seam. Next we need to pin the second detail the same way. Be very careful. I remind you that we are pinning the facing. That's it. Have a look here. This is how this part looks like now. What is very important is that you should always stitch the details from this side, not from the lining side. This is why we will have to stitch one side down from the top and the other side vice versa. The techniques are absolutely the same. Have a look here. This is where we should stop stitching.
The
width of the seam here should be 7 millimeters. Let's have a look at the other side. One edge is shorter than the other. The thing is that they should be attached to each other this way. The edges should be pinned together. Start stitching from the second seam on the lining. The width of the seam should be 7 millimeters. Please be very attentive. Stitch the lining this way to the facing. How should the facing be stitched? It should be stitched from this point. Here it is. To this one. The seam shouldn't go this way. It shouldn't be straight. And it shouldn't be too wide neither. Make it smooth and beautiful. Stitch the angle in such a way that you will be able to turn it right side out. When you do it, the extra pieces should be cut. Let's start stitching. We need to stitch just a short piece, to the point where the facing starts. Make a straight 7 mm wide seam here. It takes just about 5 minutes to stitch one angle. I will show you how to stitch the second angle without drawing anything. When you reach the point where the overcast ends, turn the detail, leaving the needle inside, and continue stitching the facing up from this point. I remind you that in our case, the facing had already been stitched. I remind you that we are stitching the facing to the button stand. That's it. Next we need to cut all the extra pieces and remove the pins. As I've already said, it takes just about 5 minutes to stitch one angle. Be very attentive. Next we need to cut all the extra pieces. Start cutting from this point. Do not forget to cut these angles. Svetlana, don't be afraid to cut more. The edges should be of different width for the seams not to be too thick. This is very important. Next, we need to turn the angle right side out. To do that, I need to fold the seam this way. Let's have a look at what we got. The facing seam is perfect. The stitched part of the overcast also looks pretty good. Let's have a look at the other side. This part should be ironed once again. Have a look at my hand. This is how we're going to iron this detail. We'll show you what to do. Don't try folding this detail any other way. The technique we're going to show you is very useful. Using it, you will never make mistakes when ironing the details. Notice that these details are not attached to each other here. Due to the fact that we made an accurate overcast and cut the extra pieces from the angle, these details look that good. The lining is of an accurate length. I remind you that we cut the extra pieces of the interlining material. All details are perfect. It's a pleasure to look at these details. Next, we'll show you how to stitch the second angle, and then we'll iron the details. We need to stitch the facing to the overcast. Make the last stitch right on the spacing seam. This is how the lower edge looks like. I remind you that we made it 1 centimeter longer than the overcast edge. Unfold the overcast detail and draw a line for stitching. I remind you that further through these points, the edges should match. This is why the details should be attached to each other here. Don't move the lower detail to the right or to the left, just pull it down. Make sure that you work carefully and accurately. Stitch this angle just like the first one. Don't make it too big and don't make it too small either. You should be able to turn it right side out. Stitch about 10 or 15 centimeters further from this point. It will be very easy for you to sew such garments when you learn these techniques. Don't be afraid to stitch more than needed. You will have to do it later anyway. Next, we need to cut the extra pieces, remove all the pins, and turn the angle right side out. After that, we'll go to the ironing desk. Remember that practice makes perfect. We show you a lot of techniques we create ourselves. When you turn the angle right side out, make sure that it's accurate. The overcast is ready. It's already ironed. We will have to tack the facing seam for ironing. After that, we'll show you what to do. As I've already said, you don't need to think how to fold this detail. It will be folded naturally when you iron the details. I don't want to offend anyone, but when I look through the YouTube videos on how to edge the bottoms in outer clothing, I didn't find anything useful. The technique we're showing you now is very useful. It's the most convenient way to edge the bottoms. If you use this technique, you will always get an accurate detail. The most important thing is that the details aren't stretched. Next, Svetlana will show you how to iron the angles accurately. Be very attentive. Svetlana is taking the seams for ironing. Don't be lazy, it's very important to do it. Svetlana is ironing the facing and the bottom. Please be very attentive. Don't iron the folded detail of the facing before you finish ironing the bottom. Watch what Svetlana is doing. This is when the fold can be ironed. Don't try stretching or gathering fabric. Iron it the way it is. Perfect. Everything's perfect. Let's iron the second angle next. Do it absolutely the same way. Use a ruler to iron the facing. Iron the overcast next. When it's done, you can iron the folded details. Now you know that it takes just about 5 minutes to edge and iron each side. If you work accurately, you won't have any problems. The details are absolutely perfect. We showed you the most complicated details. The only thing left to be done is to sew this part. It should be stitched with the 7mm wide seam. Of course, you can turn the coat wrong side out, stitch the seam, and then turn the coat right side out back through a sleeve, for example. I think that this technique is too complicated. I recommend stitching the seam this way. When there's only a small part of the seam left to be stitched, do it by hands. I'm sure that you will manage to do it. We showed you all the needed sewing techniques very thoroughly. I want you to not be afraid of sewing outer clothes. I also want you to not be afraid of making garments with interlining. The thing is that there is no need to be afraid of doing anything. Practice makes perfect. There is nothing complicated in the techniques which I showed you. First, I wanted to show you how to make stand collars in coats and semi-coats with dolman sleeves. After that, I decided to show you how to work with lining and interlining. Then, I decided to show you how to edge the sleeves and the bottoms. I showed you most of the techniques needed for making such coats. It's very important to be able to edge these details accurately. As I've already said, I love outer clothes. This is why I showed you so many useful techniques and details. That's all for today. We're Paukšte Irina and Svetlana. Be different and beautiful. Subscribe to my channel, write comments, share videos, press the like and the bell buttons. I would really appreciate your support. Thank you. Goodbye.